YouTube? Welcome back to my YouTube video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn your notification bells. This video right here, it's a long overdue video. This is my story from my beginning to now, and why I am the person why I was the person I was, and starting my healing journey and becoming the person that I am now. This is not to bash anybody. This is not to make anybody feel less of a person, a parent, a cousin, a aunt, a grandmother, grandfather, whatever. It's about me and how I solely felt and how I was treated from my perspective and how it affected me from my perspective. I might drop a tear. I might. But I have to put my truth out, because my thing is, this is the way that I'm healing. This is the healing way for me. And lately, I'm going on this journey of where it's like, I want better for myself. I know the person that I am. And y'all, excuse my voice is raspy. Because I got up this morning to work out as usual. But this was just really on me, so I had to drop this video. I had to really drop this video. So I'm gonna drop it tomorrow. Yeah, so I'm gonna drop tomorrow. So it is, what time is it? 7:24 in the morning. I got up at like 6 something. Okay, so well, I'm gonna start from when I was a baby. It was just me, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, some of my cousins, my mom's oldest son. My little brother came probably like a year later. Not even a whole year. So, anyways, everything was cool. My grandmother was in our life, my dad was in our life, my mom was in our life. I said about 3 years old, everything changed. Everything changed. And I stayed with my mom. I stayed with my grandmother, and I stayed with my dad and their side of the family. With my little brother. My big brother and my mom, they left. My big brother was her child by herself, so that's why he left. So I basically just had my dad, my grandmother, my aunts, my cousins. I didn't have any uncles. My daddy's the only boy. So my daddy raised me, and I give him that. As a man, a lot of men don't be parents to their kids without the mother being there. And he did that. He did my hair. He made sure I went to school. He made sure I ate. He made sure I was taken care of. He did that. And as far as my partner, I want a man, as far as that aspect of my father, to be just like that. So I will be comfortable to know, if I leave today, tomorrow, he'll be able to do this by himself. But where it really started, what I think about now, like at that moment, I didn't know that I would feel some type of way or that it would affect me later on in life. When it did, at 3, it was just us. It was just us at that moment. I stayed 2 years later. My mom kidnapped me off the porch from my grandmother, and my grandmother would take care of me. Like my grandmother, that was my mom. Like if anybody know me, they know how my grandmother impacted my life. Like that lady right there. Oh my God, like I'm gonna start crying. That lady right there, man, I would give her a Grammy Award. Like, she took people in. She made sure everybody was good. Like, no matter if they wasn't her kids or not. Like, a lot of people that we have, friends that we're close to now, that we call cousins, that are not even our cousins, my grandmother took them in, and they've been here ever since. And so, she basically, took me from them, and I didn't see them for a long time. And it hurted me because that's all I knew at one point. And at that moment, I started to go into a little dark hole. Even at a young age, I've always been in a dark hole. Like, And to be able to really, voice my opinion and say how I feel, make me feel good now. Like, it makes me feel good now. Like, when she came and she took me from my grandmother and them, they didn't even know that she took me till they came outside and I was gone. My mom called and told them that that she had me and that she was going to keep me. And my brother stayed with my dad, so I didn't really get to see my little brother like that up until I was in 5th grade. I moved back with my dad there when I was in 5th grade because my grandmother got sick. So, being all those years with my grandmother, talking to her on the phone, going to spend weekends with her and stuff, to know that my mom only allowed me to go back because my grandmother was sick kind of hurted me because I was like, damn, that's like my mom. Like I tell everybody, my grandmother is my mom. I don't care what nobody say. My grandmother is my fucking mom. Like, yeah, I have my mother, but that's my mom. Like, that is my fucking mom. Like, but it's like, I don't even know how to put it. Like, it hurted me because I was like, I felt, how could I put it? I felt like I didn't get to experience my grandmother like I should have. Because my parents weren't adults enough to be parents, And that's not to take shots at them because we all have a lot of growing to do. We all don't know, what the decisions we may think is right in our head at that moment may not be right for our kids later on down the life. So I can't fault her or I can't fault my dad, because they were young and they were still learning. But I can give them and tell them, like, this is what y'all did and this is how it affected me. I can tell them that, but I can't fault them and say, what, because at that moment they may have thought, what they were doing was right. Because I'm a mother now, so I understand and I see, what they may have thought was right for them may not be right for that child. And so I just felt like I was ripped away from somewhere where I was comfortable, where I knew people, and I could be myself. Like, when I moved with my mom, I felt really close in because it was just me. Like, her husband had kids, but I didn't have that. I had a bond with them, but I didn't have that bond like I had with my family. And to basically be taken away from them hurt it. It hurt. And then to grow up, like, in the moments that I would look for my father at school events, because that was all I had. That's all I remember was my dad. To have him not be there or nobody be there, boy, because my mom worked a lot. So to not have nobody there hurt it. Put me in a black hole, like put me in a really, really black hole. So 5th grade, I moved back with my dad. And my grandmother got sick, and I was happy. Like, I was happy as fuck to move back. I was happy to be my grandmother. I was happy to be around everybody. And I didn't know my grandmother was sick. I didn't know she was sick until I moved back. And so when I moved back and I saw my grandmother had Alzheimer's. And my grandma is very, 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 very independent. And to see my grandmother go down that really was breaking me. And the only thing I can say is it made me stronger for, like, now, because I can handle stuff like that. Like, to see her going from being an independent person, a very, very independent person. Like, my grandmother had crippling arthritis and her hands was permanently like this. Like, if you knew my grandmother, you knew. Like, and we used to, till this day, we still make jokes about it. It's just our way of coping with her personality. Like my grandmother, I have to give y'all a sense of her little personality. Like, she had crippling arthritis, right? So her hands would be like this. This is how her hands was. And so they were permanently both like that. She still would smoke her cigarette. She still would cook dinner. Like, when I say bomb-ass dinner for the entire family. She would still do that. She would still get up and make sure everybody's up for school. She was still on her independent stuff. She would drink her own drinks. Only thing she would actually do was to light her cigarette and open her can of soda. Other than that, she had her own thing. Even trying to put on her clothes and we would try to help her, she would do it herself. Like, that's one thing I can say I miss about my grandmother. And that's one thing she taught me, to be very, very independent. Like, and so it's like, at that moment when I moved back, I was happy. I was so fucking happy. And I didn't hear from my mom. And that's what fucked me up. What fucked me up again was, I was like, probably like 3 to 4 years later, my grandmother passed. How I found out she passed is what hurt me, because I felt like, once again, how people may say, you know, this may have been right for you to tell you this way, may not have been right for that person. Like, me and my brother were told, you know, days after she died, and we were pulled to the side away from everybody. After we came in the house looking for her. Like, we came in the house looking for her, and they pulled us to the side. And they was just like, your grandmother died a couple days ago. Like, that broke me. Like, now I feel I can say it without crying. But back then, I couldn't even, barely even say it, because it was like, I felt I was cheated of saying, even though I wasn't saying goodbye to her, I felt like I was cheated from saying goodbye to my grandmother like everybody else did. Even though everybody got to see her, you know, the coroner come and get her from the house and stuff like that, but I felt like I was cheated because I didn't get to experience, even though she was passed and gone, everybody got to see her leave, like, from the house. I didn't get to see that. I didn't get to feel that. I didn't get that call, or nobody told me, you know, the day it happened like everybody else did. And I just felt like, you know what, like, I literally right then and there, I said, fuck it. I said, fuck everybody. Fuck life, fuck it all. I started having suicidal thoughts back then. Like, that's in 2007 when my grandmother passed. That's when I started having my suicidal thoughts, because I felt like at that moment, even though I had my dad, even though I had my brothers, even though I had my family, I felt like I had nobody. Because, and sorry if y'all hear that noise, my kids are in that room playing. But at that moment, I felt like I had nobody. Nobody understood me. Nobody really understood who I was or where I was coming from in a lot of aspects. And my grandmother always did, every time. No matter what the situation was, my grandmother always understood me. She always took out the time to understand me or talk to me. And to not have that anymore really just put me in a situation where it was like, I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't have nobody to go to. Like, so after that, I went down a black hole. And it was like I started doing shit I had no business doing. I started talking to people I had no business talking to. I was just out there. I was being stupid. I can't even say stupid. I was letting my emotions take over my life, and I wasn't controlling them. Like, at the age that I was, I shouldn't have been doing the shit that I was doing. Like, I was in middle school doing the shit that a fucking grown person should be doing. And I shouldn't have been. And I can't blame nobody on that aspect but me. Because I knew that I shouldn't have been doing it. But I just wanted to act out of anger, hurt, and pain. Because that's what I was acting out of, hurt, anger, and pain. Like, I didn't know how to talk to anybody. I didn't know how to come to nobody and say, you know, man, this hurt. Like, and because every time I would say, I'm hurting, they're like, oh, you'll be okay. Oh, it's going to be all right. Sometimes it's not going to be okay. Sometimes you need to just listen to people. Sometimes you have to hear people out. What may work for you may not work for everybody else. Like, and so at that moment, I didn't care. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't. And it just, everything started to go downhill. So, I say probably like 2.5 years later. Well, let me rewind. In the midst of everything going down here, I was hanging with people that I know I shouldn't have been hanging with. Even I never hung with girls. I'm the type of person I never hung with girls. I've never just me because I've always all the girls in my family. That's who I hung with. But as far as boys, I've always clung to boys because I have a majority brothers. My cousins are boys, and I was raised by men, so I cling to men more because I'm comfortable. Like I can have a conversation about football. I can have a conversation about anything with a man that a woman sometimes wouldn't even understand. So, and I started hanging with this girl. I'm not gonna say her name. I had a headache one day. We was coming from school. And remind you, we're in middle school. We're in fucking middle school. I had a headache. My dad wasn't even at home. He was at work. I got off the bus. I told her, man, shit, I got a headache. Because she wanted me to come outside. I was like, I got a headache, so I might lay down. She's like, I got some pain pills for you. I was like, I was about to ask her, I said, was they Tylenol? She said, yeah. I said, okay. So, back then, I didn't know anything about no fucking drugs. I didn't know anything about drugs. I didn't know anything about fucking drugs. I didn't. I've never saw a drug. At that moment in middle school, my dad never brought drugs around us. He never even let us know what the fuck a drug was. Like, even though my family was on drugs, that's one thing I say on my dad's side of the family. Even though they weren't drugs, some people were on drugs, they never allowed it to come into our family as far as intravenous like it did towards the end. Like, so she told me she had a Tylenol. So I said, okay, I'm coming out like Tylenol, and then we can chill, and then when my head starts to calm down, like, we can go outside. And she was like, okay, cool. Because I'm the type of person, if it's sunny outside, I can't be in the heat like that because I'll pass out. I cannot be in the heat like that because I'll get a headache and I'll pass the fuck out. So, like, I went and took the pill. I didn't even know it was a fucking handlebar. I didn't know it was a handlebar. I realized it was a handlebar years later when I would talk about this story. People was like, yeah, that was a handlebar. Because the thing was, I didn't even, when I took it, I had left her house. I took it and I left. And I went home. I walked home and I laid down. And I never got back up. Okay, I'm back, y'all. So, my kids was out in over here doing extra stuff that wasn't supposed to be doing. But, so, like, tell you that I still remember what I had. So I got up, my dad woke me up and he was like, cause I slept from the, and I got home before everybody got home. So I got home, I took that pill from her and I walked back home. And when I got home, I laid down. And remind you, we didn't wear a uniform, so I had on regular clothes. So I laid down in the bed and I went to sleep. I didn't know my brother came home, I didn't know my daddy came home, didn't know nothing. I was in there dead, sleep. So, my dad came in the room, and he was like, Courtney, come eat. I was like, okay. I heard him say, Courtney, come eat. I said, okay. I lifted my head. He saw me lift my head, so he walked off. I laid my ass right back down because I couldn't get up. I could not fathom to get up. I couldn't get up. And I got up. I went to the table because he came in there again. I got up and I went to the table. And so I sat there and I was looking at my plate. And I didn't even remember. I never took a bite. I never nothing. I bent down to pick up the fork and my face went into the food. And I was asleep in my food. I was asleep in my food. Like, I was asleep in my food. Sleep. So my dad came out of his room after he was eating. So remind you, this entire time, my brother had ate. My daddy's ate. My brother Xavier went to go tell my dad, Courtney sleep in her food. She never ate nothing. She went to sleep in her food the entire time. So my brother was sitting on the couch eating, so he didn't know I was sleeping in my food because I was behind him at the table. So my dad, when he made plates, he used to just sit everybody food on the table, and wherever you disperse, that's where you disperse. So I just sat at the table that day, and I fell asleep on the table in my food. My dad came out of the room and was like, Courtney, what the hell? Go to bed. What the fuck? So my dad still never said anything. So the next morning, now usually nobody has to wake me up in the morning for school. The next morning, My daddy had to come in there and wake me up because I almost missed the bus. He had to come in there and wake me up. And he was like, Courtney, get up for school. And get up for school, get up for school. And at this time, I was more able to move. I was more able to get up. And I was still dragging, but I was up. Like, I was up. So, I finally got myself together, and I just walked out the door. I didn't ask for no lunch money. I didn't ask for nothing. I just walked out the fucking door. Because my mind was still discombobulated. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm going to school already. I just was up. Like, I didn't remember falling asleep. I didn't. And so, I had literally got to the bus stop. My dad walked behind me, and he tapped me on my shoulder. He was like, here's your lunch money. And he was like, I don't know what you did. He said, but don't do it again. And I'm looking at him like, I didn't do anything. I just took a Tylenol for my friend because I did it. And he's like, Courtney, I don't know what you did, but don't do it again. And I'm still sitting there like, I was being honest with him. I'm thinking the whole time in my head, it was a Tylenol. She probably thought it was a Tylenol too, so I don't know. So I left it at that. And so after that, me and my dad started to get into it, like a lot. Because I started just not having an I don't give a fuck attitude. Like months later, I started having an I don't give a fuck attitude. I was just like, you know what? I'm over it. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like, so that's when I started doing shit I had no business doing. That's when I was doing shit I had no business doing. And me and my dad got into a fight. My brother called the cops because we were fighting. Like, we were physically fighting. Yeah. I broke the key. Like, if you know, I know down south have it, but I don't know, like, other places have it. The deadbolt lock where you can lock it from the inside with your regular key, that's what we had. So I broke the key in the door because nobody would let me outside to go. I was just trying to go outside to calm my mind. Nobody would let me out the fucking front door. So I broke the key in the door. And I just said, if I'm not gonna leave this bitch, ain't nobody gonna leave this bitch. And that's just that was the mindset I was in back then. So we all started fighting. Like, my little brother called the police. Police came and fucking helicopters came, everything. So then they called my mom. Now, remind you, I haven't talked to my mom in years. I haven't talked to my mom since she dropped me off right before my grandmother died. And that was like 2005, 2004. She dropped me off in like 2004. My grandmother died in 2007. And here it is, 2009. Yeah, 2009. Like, I haven't heard from her, no birthdays, no holidays, no nothing. Just when people die, that's when I hear from her. And even when my grandmother died, I felt some way towards her because she came to the funeral before we got there. Like, she came to view my grandmother's body before we got there. So it was just like, she didn't stick around to see if we were okay. Even though I know she was hurting because her and my grandmother were very close. But even though I know she was hurting, it bothered me because I was like, your kids are hurting and you're nowhere. Like, you're not here. I get it. But we hurting too. Like, you shouldn't have left us. So, in the midst of that, I moved back with my mom. Then my little brother ended up moving with us because my dad went to jail. Like, a couple months later. And so, when my dad went to jail, that's when everything with my mom started to change. Her husband at the time started beating on us, like, seriously beating on us. Like, he broke all my brother's toes when he pushed me down the stairs and all that. And at that moment, I didn't have nobody to talk to. They didn't want us with the phone. They didn't want us with anything, like anything at all. So I couldn't really, I couldn't really talk to people who I was comfortable with because my mom didn't want me to talk to them. So, and that was like my other side of the family. So, well, it wasn't even just it wasn't even my mom didn't want me to talk to him. It was her husband that didn't want to talk to them. So, all the beatings and shit started happening and all of this, and I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it. I gave up. I fought my mom. I fought him. My dad came home from jail, and I left. Like, all my life, I've been fighting all my fucking life. Like, and I'm tired. Like, Nobody understands how hard it is to fight day in and day out. Like, when you're constantly fighting to be happy, fighting to be noticed, fighting to fucking be understood, fighting to be cared about. Like, a motherfucker gets tired of fighting sometimes. Like, and I did get tired of fighting. And one thing I can say is, if I was to ever meet this little white boy, my brother's friend, ever again, I would thank him. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here right now making this video for y'all. Because I got tired of fighting. I did. I wanted to let go. I wanted to be with my grandmother. I didn't want to be here anymore. I got tired of fighting. So what I did was, when everybody was outside and everybody was gone, I went in my dad's room and I took a handful of pills. And started having panic attacks and everything else. And if it wasn't for that boy, and to this day, my dad does not know what happened that night. He don't know what happened. He just think, oh, she just started having panic attacks. Like, if it wasn't for that boy, I probably wouldn't be here. And to this day, I tell everybody that if I was to ever run into him ever again, I promise I would thank that boy, like, because I wouldn't have my kids, I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be this new person that I'm becoming. Like, and a lot of people don't understand, you gotta go through a lot of shit sometimes. You gotta take the cards you was dealt and play them bitches. You got to. Like, and if it wasn't for him, I'd probably be gone. Because that night, I was tired of fighting. I was tired. I wanted to give up. Like, nobody understands that shit. Some people do, but some people don't. Fighting sometimes can take everything you got. Everything. And when you've been doing it all your life, it's nothing you can really tell nobody. Like, oh, stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop. Just turn your back on people. When you were raised to not turn your back on people, it makes it even harder to turn your back on somebody. And I'm to the point now to where it's like, I don't have no attachments to anybody. I will walk the fuck away. Only attachments I have is to my kids. And that's because they need me right now. And when they turn 18, I will no longer have any attachments to them as well. I will be connected to them, but attachments I will not have. And that thing in life, we have to learn to live without attachments. That's our problem. And that was my biggest problem. That was my biggest fail problem. And so, it was like, when I came home a couple days after that, I didn't want to be there. I felt stupid. I felt dumb. I was like, you really tried to take yourself out. You tried to be a punk and take yourself out. And I was mad at myself for a long time. I didn't talk to people. I didn't want to get close to people. Nothing. So, in the midst of that, I dropped out of school. I dropped out of high school. And said, fuck it. Fuck going to school. Fuck it all. I'm just gonna be out here and be thugging. I went back to school. That's one thing I can say. I went back to school. I graduated. I graduated before I was supposed to graduate. My thing is, one thing I can say is, no matter what the fuck you're going through, never give up on yourself. Never give up on yourself, no matter how much people around you show that they give up on you. Don't give up on yourself, because giving up on yourself is letting everybody know that they won. Stop letting everybody win when it's your life. Like, it's your life to live. It's your story. Can't nobody tell you that. Can't nobody tell you your story. Can't nobody live your story for you. Can't nobody make your story for you. It's your story. And so it was just like, I couldn't not want to be better than my family. I could not want to be better than the situation I was put in. So I went back to school. I graduated before I was supposed to, on time, like I said I would. Like I said, I graduated a year early. I graduated at 17 years old and went to college at 18. To look back and say, you know what, I did that shit. I went to college and I finished high school in the midst of me going through all this BS, all this bullshit. And that's just bits and pieces that I'm telling you guys. Like the serious stuff I still haven't told y'all. And then maybe that'll be years to come down the line when I'm more open to that part of my life. But I'm happy. I've closed those wounds. I've healed those wounds. I'm just not comfortable with talking about some things. Some things I'm just not comfortable with talking about. As far as certain family members I will never speak to again. And that's just that. And I'm happy and I'm content. And I'm slowly, like my kids, nobody understands, like my kids, that's what brought me my joy. That's what saved me, because I was wilding. I would go out every night. I was drinking every day, all day. Like, I would wake up and drink. Like, I was waking up, taking shots, going to work, taking shots when I came home. Like, going to the club when I came home. I always had a drink. And I wasn't even 21 yet. I wasn't even 20 yet. Like, I was like 18, 17, 18. And I was always drinking. Like, I could drink somebody under the motherfucking table. Drinking Wild Turkey 101 at like 18 years old. Like, and this is gonna be a raw, uncut video, you guys. It's gonna be a raw video. Like, I'm probably not gonna edit it at all, if anything, because I want y'all to really understand, like, me, and understand, you know, like, I really went through hell to be where I'm at now. To look back at me back then and look at me now, I give my, bitch, you did a good job. Hey, I swear, I did. To this day, I still thank myself, and I still go hard. To this day, I have my moments where I slip, and my mental be fucking with me. But I have to take a step back and catch that before it becomes worse. Because if you don't address something when it's first put in front of you, it's only going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And my thing is now, that's where I'm at. If I feel some type, I'm going to address it right then and there. Because I can't no longer hinder how I feel, because the more I put my feelings to the side, or the more I seclude my feelings or anything like that, I seem to hurt myself. Like, and I can't keep hurting myself when I got 4 babies. I got 4 babies that I gotta look after. Like, that's my world, that's my life, and I can't turn my back on them. I can't hurt myself. And I did before. I tried to hurt myself again. And it was so fucking crazy. And I knew, like, every time. I literally, when I was going through postpartum depression, that's why I said, women that are out there with postpartum depression, talk to people. Talk. Open your mouth. Say something, please. Please, 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 please say something. Please talk to somebody. Please. Because I was going through so many emotions. I was already depressed. I got pregnant. I had my twins 3 months early, so that puts me in the postpartum depression, seriously. And my kids weren't able to come home. And to get pregnant again, like 4 months later, and not know that you were pregnant, it really fucks with your mental, because you're not giving your body enough time to heal. So I put a lot on myself. Like, I did, and I blame myself for a lot of certain shit that I did, but a lot of certain shit I don't blame myself on. Like, I literally was going through postpartum while I was pregnant again. So going through all these emotions and having postpartum, it's not good, it's not cool, it's not healthy. And not saying nothing is definitely not healthy. So I literally tried to take myself out again. Again. Fucking again. And this was like in 2018, 2017, 2018. Yeah, 2018, 2019, 18 or 19. Yeah, it was 19 because I had just had my baby in 18. Yeah, it was 2019. So I was in the bathroom. I woke up that morning and I was fine. And it was just like something said. It was like I got triggered. And I tell this guy, I don't know what the fuck triggered me. But I just started going into this like hole where I was like, you know what? I'm fucking hurting. I don't want to be here. I'm not beneficial to nobody here. Nobody cares about me. It doesn't matter if I leave her to go. It's not gonna affect anybody. So in the midst of me doing this, my phone rang, and it was my mom. I didn't answer the first time. She called. She kept calling back to back, back to back. So I finally answered, and she was like, "Your grandfather just died," and that right there broke me. That broke me down because I had just saw my grandfather 2 days before, like, and my grandfather had cancer. He was fighting cancer for 4 years. He beat it, it came back. He beat it, it came back. And this time it came back worse. And they used to always say, oh, he got this much time left. He got this much time left. But it wouldn't. He would always live past it. So, and what was crazy was when he passed, he died on 1/11. And that right there really, to me, because angel numbers mean so much to me, and when somebody passed on an angel number, that means they've completed their soul mission. Like, and to know, like, you know, that somebody who, even though he wasn't in my life my entire life, but when he did come in, he impacted it so fucking much. Like, he made sure that he was there. He made sure grandfather duties, he was there. He made sure, you know, that he knew that I knew that Poppy loved you. Like, my papa used to call himself Poppy all the time. He's like, Poppy this, Poppy that. So I knew, you know, Poppy loved you. Like, and so to get that call in the midst of me going through that moment hurted me, but it always let me know, like, no matter what, he was still there. Like, he was still there. Like, my second daughter is the only child my grandfather has ever saw be born. He's never went to the hospital to see anybody kids be born, even his own kids. So to know, like, my grandfather said, hey, in the midst of him being sick, I'm going to get my ass up and I'm going to go to the hospital to watch my granddaughter have her another baby. Like, that made me feel so special, like, because it was like, you didn't have to do that. And you were in the midst of fighting your own battles. You didn't have to get up and do that. Like, and that, from that day, I always said I would never put myself in that situation to where I feel like I want to take myself out ever again. And that's why I tell people, when you're having those thoughts, talk to somebody, because you never know who know what you're going through, who been through what you've been through. Hold on, y'all. Okay, y'all. I'm back. But yeah, you never know who you could impact. You never know who, you know, or what, you know, could happen. And so that's what I say to people. If you're going through something, talk to somebody. It don't matter if you don't know them. Just tell them, like, I don't know you, but I need to talk to somebody. Like, I need to express myself to somebody. If you feel comfortable enough, do that. Because sometimes you never know who you may be talking to, and it helps. Like, you never know. You never know. And now I'm to the point in my life where I'm happy, I'm content. I've let family, friends, exes, baby daddies run me to the ground. I would let them hurt me to the end, like, to the worst, like, I have. And I'm to the point where it's like, now, I just want to live for me and for my kids and be happy. And if the universe decides to say, hey, this person is for you and solely meant for you, then hey, then I'll think about it. But until then, I just want to be happy within myself. Like, I'm happy within myself now, but I mean, as far as I just want to be content by myself. Like, I'm cool. Like, as far as giving myself away to people, I'm cool. Like, if you can't genuinely reciprocate energy, I don't want anything to deal with a lot of people. And at this moment, I'm slowly cutting a lot of people off. Like, and my thing is to people out there, if you are going through something, no matter how fucking old you are, no matter what the fuck it is, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. Because I never talked to nobody. I never said nothing to nobody. And to this day, I'm just now learning how to open my mouth and talk to people. And I'm 25 years old. I'm 20 fucking 5. So talk to people. No matter if it's something small, something big. Talk to people. Please, please talk to people. That's all I say is please fucking talk to people. And where I am now, I wouldn't have ever thought that I'd be here. I didn't. I am so fucking happy, y'all. Like, y'all don't understand. Y'all do not understand how fucking happy I am. Like, y'all, I wake up in the morning and be dancing and singing every fucking morning. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Who wakes up that early and be doing the most? I wake up and be doing the most. Like, it's like my inner child be out. Like, and I have so much fun in the house with my goddamn self and my kids. Like, I do. And all I can say is to a lot of people, a lot of mothers that's out there, new mothers, talk to people when you're feeling some type of way. You need a break, tell somebody you need a break. If you want to, if you need to get away, get away. Get away. Sometimes it is okay. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to feel hurt. Sometimes it's okay to be sad. Learn those emotions. Feel those emotions at that moment. And that's honestly really why I want to tell my story. Well, part of my story, because I want y'all to be able to say, you know what, they do have people out there like me. Like, they do have people that go through real shit and wear a smile on their face, and you would never know that that's what they went through. Like, a lot of people who hear my story, they was like, looking at you, you would never think that this is what you've been through. Like, when they hear my full story, y'all just heard just vaguely a piece of my story. But to fully hear my story, like, I want y'all to understand. Somebody out there can touch you. Somebody out there can learn from you. Don't always think that your traumas, because your traumas can help somebody else. Or how you got through that trauma can help somebody else. So just don't turn your back on people. That's what I want to say. Love people, care about people. And if you decide to accept somebody's apology, then nobody's tell you you're wrong. Nobody's wrong. So do what makes you happy. This is your life, and nobody can tell you nothing else. Nobody can tell you no different. At the fuck off. So I want to say thank you guys for supporting me. I want to say thank y'all for always being there for me. And I'm out.